All right, we're going to write the equation of the line through two given points. You may sometimes have it on the graph. You may sometimes just have the given points listed. So we want our equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. So we need to know the slope and the y-intercept of our line. Well, first of all, if we have the graph, we can just count out the slope. We know that the slope is the change in the y direction over the change in the x direction. So we could just count 1, 2, 3 down, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to the right. So 3 down would be -3, 9 to the right, so I get -3/9, which is -1/3. So now I know my equation is y equals -1/3 x plus b. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to use the coordinates of one of those 2 points in for my x and my y to find my y-intercept. I can tell it's 4 and something, but I don't know what it exactly is. So this point is at 4, 3. So I'm going to put 4 in for my x, 3 in for my y. 3 then is going to equal, if I take -1/3 times 4, I get -4/3 plus b. -1 times 4, and then this would be over 1. 3 times 1 is 3. If you're really bad, use your calculator. In this case, in order to solve it, I'm going to take 3 and add 4/3. So 3 times 3 would give me 9/3. 9/3 plus 4/3 is 13/3 for my y-intercept. 13/3, 3 goes in there, 4 and 1/3. 4 and 1/3 looks like where my y-intercept is going to be. Of course, I still need to answer the question. What is the equation of my line? Y is going to equal that -1/3 x, since -1/3 was my slope, plus my 13/3, which is what my y-intercept is. The second one, we don't have the graph. On the second one, we just have the points. So if they just list the points and they don't give you the graph, you have to find the slope by using our formula for slope. Change in y over change in x. So, -2 minus a -4. 6 minus a -4, so -2 plus 4 would give me 2. 6 plus 4 would give me 10. 1/5 is going to be my slope. So I know my equation is going to start y equals 1/5 x plus some number b that I have to find. Again, it doesn't matter which one of the 2 given points you use. You can use either one. I'm going to use this one since it has a +6 in there. Not that it really matters, but I'm going to put 6 in for x and -2 in for y. So -2 equals 6/5 plus b. I have to take -2 and subtract my 6/5. So 5 times -2 would be -10/5. -10/5 minus 6/5 is -16/5 for my y-intercept, for my b value. Again, I still have to answer the question, what is the equation of the line? Well, y equals 1/5 x because my slope was 1/5 minus 16/5 because my y-intercept was -16/5. So the third one there, same kind of thing. We don't have the graph, so we have to use the formula for the slope. Y minus y, so 3 minus 6, x minus x, so 5 minus a -4. 3 minus 6 would be -3. 5 plus 4 would give me 9, so -1/3 is going to be my slope. So y is going to equal -1/3 x plus some number b that we still need to find. I'm going to use the 5 and the 3, so 5 in for x and 3 in for y. So 3 is going to equal negative 5/3 plus some number b. So I have to take 3 and add my 5/3. 3 times 3 would give me 9/3. 9/3 plus 5/3 is 14/3 for the value of my y-intercept. And then I have to write the equation of my line. So y is going to equal negative 1/3 x, since my slope was negative 1/3, plus my y-intercept of 14/3. So y equals negative 1/3 x plus 14/3. All right, the next ones are application problems. And it says, suppose that the credit remaining on the phone card in dollars is a linear function of the total calling time in minutes. When graphed, the function gives a line with a slope of negative 0.12. See the figure below. So there's a $25.04 in remaining credit on a card after 42 minutes of calls. How much credit was there after 29 minutes of calls? So what we want to do is we want to come up with the equation of the line because we know the slope and we know a point on the line. So if I have y equals mx plus b, I know that my slope is going to be negative 0.12. So y equals negative 0.12x plus b. I am then going to use this point. This is my x, this is my y. So the 42 is going to go in for the x, and the $25.04 going to go in for my y. I need to solve that. So $25.04 is going to equal, if I grab my calculator here, negative 0.12 times 42 is negative 5.04 plus b. So solving that, I'm going to add 5.04 and I'm going to get 30.08 for my b value. So I know y equals negative 0.12x plus 30.08. And that's the equation of this line. Now I'm going to take my equation and now solve it for if there were 29 minutes of calls. The number of minutes calling time is my x value. So I'm now going to put 29 in for my x and solve it. So negative 0.12 times 29 is negative 3.48 plus my 30.08. And so I'm going to get $26.60. So if I make 29 minutes of calls, it's going to cost me $26.60. Or it's not going to cost me that. That's going to be my remaining credit. So I was on there. I talked less time. My 29 would be over here. I'd have more credit left on my thing. So after 29 minutes of calls, I had $26.60 credit left on my calling card. So number 5. Says, suppose that a household's monthly water bill in dollars is a linear function of the amount of water the household uses in hundreds of cubic feet. When graphed, the function gives a line with a slope of 1.65. See the figure below. If the monthly cost for 23 HCS is $29.43, what is my cost for 29? So again, I want to come up with the equation of the line. Y is going to equal 1.65x plus some number b. This is my x and my y. So if I know that x is 23, my y is 29.43. 23 HCFs gives me 29.43 for my cost. So I'm going to find my b. So 29.43 equals 1.65 times 23, 37.95 plus B. I'm going to then subtract my 37.95. So 29.43 minus 37.95 gives me negative 8.52 for my B value. So y is going to equal 1.65x minus 852. So now I have the equation of my line. I now want to find it for my monthly water usage of 29. So I'm going to put 29 in for my x and I'm going to solve it. So 1.65 times 29 is 47.85 minus my 8.52. So my cost is $39.33. So if I use 29 hundreds of cubic feet, that's going to cost me $39.33. Number 6, same kind of thing then. Suppose that the weight in pounds of an airplane is a linear function of the total amount of fuel in gallons in its tank. When graphed, the function gives a line with a slope of 5.9. So y is going to equal 5.9x plus some number b. We know that with 52 gallons of fuel, the weight is 2,206.8 pounds. So again, here's my x, here's my y. I'm going to solve that to find out what my b value is. So 2206.8 equals 5.9 times 52, 306.8 plus b. So I'm going to subtract my 306.8. 2206.8 minus 306.8 gives me 1900 for my b value. So y equals 5.9x plus 1900. Now that I have my equation on my line, I can answer what the question is. It wants to know what the weight is if I only have 26 gallons of fuel. So if I have less fuel, how much is my plane going to weigh? So 5.9 times 26 is 153.4 plus my 1900 gives me 2,053.4 pounds. All right, the next ones, we have an application problems where we're finding a coordinate given 2 points. It says the monthly cost in dollars of water use is a linear function of the amount of water used in hundreds of cubic feet, HCF. The cost for using 20 HCF of water is $33.08. The cost for using 57 HCF is $83.03. What is the cost for using 31 HCF? So what we want to do is come up with the equation of our line so that we can then substitute in for the x and find how much it's going to cost us. So first thing we need to do is find our slope. Again, this would be my x, this would be my y. So when I do my ordered pairs, the HCF is my x value and the cost is going to be my y value, 3308. My other point would be 57, cost me 8303. So when I do my slope, I'm going to do the change in y minus the change in x. So 8303 minus 3308 over 57 minus 20. And so 8303 minus 3308 gives me 49.95. 57 minus 20 is 37. So 49.95 divided by 37 is 135, or 1.35. So that's going to be the slope of my line. So I know that y equals 1.35x plus some number b. Now basically I'm going to do the problem like I did the previous ones. I'm going to use either of those 2 points, substitute them in so I can find my y-intercept. So I know that when x was 20, y was 3308. So 3308 equals 1.35 times 20, which is 27, plus some number b, so I'm going to subtract my 27. $6.08. So my equation is y equals 1.35x plus 608. I'm now going to substitute in the 31 for my x so that I can find out what the cost is. So if I put the 31 in there, 1.35 times my 31 is 41.85. 41.85 plus my 608 is going to be $47.93. So if you look at that, that should make sense because the 31 is between 20 and 57, so the price should be between the prices for the 20 and the 57, which it is. So number 8, suppose that the height in centimeters of a candle is a linear function of the amount of time in hours it has been burning. After 10 hours of burning, the candle has a height of 22 centimeters. After 21 hours of burning, its height is 18.7 centimeters. What is the height of the candle after 16 hours? So my hours are going to be my x, my height is going to be my y. So my ordered pairs, 10 hours would be a height of 22, and 21 hours is a height of 18.7. So again, we're going to start by finding the slope. And so I'm going to go ahead and subtract 18.7 minus 22 and 21 minus 10. So 18.7 minus 22 is negative 3.3. 21 minus 10 is 11. So if I divide my negative 3.3 by 11, I get the slope of negative 0.3. So y is going to equal negative 0.3x plus some number b that we have yet to find. I'm going to use this top point, 10 for my x, gives me 22 for my y, so 22 equals, if I take negative 0.3 times 10, I get negative 3. If I add my 3, I get 25 for my b value. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 0.3x plus 25. We want to find the height of the candle after 16 hours. So now I can put 16 in for my x and solve. So negative 0.3 times 16 is negative 4.8 plus my 25 means the height is going to be 20.2. So again, 16 is between my 10 and my 21. My height should be between my 22 and my 18.7. It is. As my candle burns, it's getting lower and lower and lower. So that answer would make sense. And number 9. Says the credit remaining on a phone card in dollars is a linear function of the total calling time made with the card in minutes. The remaining credit after 31 minutes of calls is $15.66. The remaining credit after 64 minutes of calls is $11.04. What is the remaining credit after 69 minutes of calls? So my minutes of calls is my X, my remaining credit is my Y. So 31 minutes of calls, I have credit of $15.66. After 64 minutes of calls, my credit is $11.04. So again, I'm going to find my slope. 1104 minus 1566 over 64 minus 31. So 1104 minus 1566 gives me negative 4.62. 64 minus 31 is 33. So negative 4.62 divided by 33 is negative 0.14. So my slope, negative 0.14. So y equals negative 0.14x plus some number b. Again, I'm going to go back and use one of my points. I'm just going to use the top one here, 31 in for the x. Gave me 1566 for my y. So 1566 is equal to negative 0.14 times 31, negative 4.34 plus b. So I have to add my 4.34. 1566 plus 4.34 comes out to 20 for my b value. So now I can do the equation of my line. Y is going to equal negative 0.14x plus 20. Means my phone card started off with $20 in it, and I'm taking off 14 cents a minute. So what's my remaining credit after 69 minutes of calls? So I'm going to put a 69 in there for the x. Negative 0.14 times 69 minus 966 plus 20. So if I add my 20, I get $10.34 remaining after 69 minutes of calls. So 64 minutes, we had 1104. If we talk for 69 minutes, now we're only going to have 1034 left on our phone card. The next ones, we're doing the distance formula, the distance between 2 points. The distance formula says that we're going to take the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And so if I'm finding the distance between my 2 points, again, here's my x1 and my y1, my x2 and my y2. So x2 is 9 minus x1 is 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. 6 squared is 36. Plus y2 is negative 6 minus y1, which is 0. So I get negative 6 squared, which is 36. 36 plus 36 is 72, so I get the square root of 72. It says write the exact answer in radical form. Technically that is the exact answer. It doesn't tell me that I have to simplify it, but I could simplify this one because we know that 72 is 36 times 2. The square root of 36 is 6. So 6 square root of 2 would be your answer in best form. So number 11, same thing. I'm going to calculate the distance between my 2 points. I'm going to take my x2, which is negative 1, minus my x1, which is negative 4, squared, and then my y2, which is negative 2, minus my y1, which is 4, squared. So negative 1 plus 4 would give me 3. 3 squared is 9. Here I would have negative 6 squared, which is 36. So I'm going to take 9 plus 36, which is 45, so I have the square root of 45. Again, if I have the square root of 45, I could make that 9 times 5, so 3 square root of 5 would be my answer in simplified form. Number 12 then, doing my distance, my x minus my x, so 4 minus my negative 5, and my y minus my y, so 2 minus negative 5 squared. So 4 plus 5 would give me 9. 9 squared is 81. 2 plus 5 would give me 7. 7 squared is 49. So I'm going to take 81 plus 49 is 130. So I'm going to have the square root of 130. I can't think of any perfect squares off the top of my head that divide evenly into 130. And since they don't require me to simplify it, I'm just going to leave it as the square root of 130. So that would be my answer. The next ones want us to find the midpoint of a line segment in the plane. The formula for midpoint, we're just really averaging. So what we're going to do is we're going to take x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and that will give me the x value of my midpoint. And my y1 plus my y2 divided by 2, that gives me the y value of my midpoint. So I'm just averaging the x's, averaging the y's. So 5 plus negative 7 would be negative 2 over 2, which gives me negative 1 for the x value of my midpoint. 3 plus negative 7 would be negative 4 over 2, which would give me negative 2 for the y value of my midpoint. So if these are my endpoints, if I went to negative 1, negative 2, I'm going to say that graph isn't quite where it's supposed to be. She must have just put dots in there where it is, because if I look at negative 1, negative 2, it should be in between here. It doesn't quite look like it is, but I'm going to say that she probably didn't draw her graph to scale when she put it on there for me. So it doesn't quite look like it's at negative 1, negative 2. Let's see on the next one. We want to find the midpoint of the points joining our line segments, so we're going to add our x's. 0 plus 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then negative 1 plus negative 7 divided by 2, so negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. So 4, negative 4, that one looks a little closer to being the midpoint of my line segment. So number 15, this time they give you the midpoint and one of the endpoints, and they want you to find the endpoint D of your line segment. So I want to think about breaking my formula up and saying, well, the midpoint, or the x value of my midpoint is if I take x1 plus x2 divided by 2. I know the x value of my midpoint is 4, and I know the x value of my first point is 2. So 4 is going to equal 2 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, and I want to solve that for x sub 2. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of my fraction. I'm going to times by the 2. So 8 equals 2 plus x sub 2, and then of course I'm going to subtract 2 to solve that. 6 then is going to be the x value of point D. Same type of thing for the y's. The midpoint of my y value is equal to y1 plus y2 divided by 2. I know the midpoint of my y value is at -2. I know my y value of my given point is -7. So -2 would equal -7 plus y2 over 2. And then the same kind of steps. I'm going to multiply by the 2 to get rid of the fraction. So -4 equals -7 plus y sub 2. I'm going to add my 7, so 3 is going to be the y value. So this point would be at 6, 3. Again, probably not drawn to scale. She probably just put some dots in there where it was close. But would look something sort of like that. All right, 16, 17, and 18, I'm going to graph the circle given its general form. Standard form for a circle looks like this. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, with the hk being the center and the r being the radius. So we want to get this equation into this form by completing the square. I'm going to start by grouping my x's together, my y's together, my numbers on the other side. So I'm going to write it like this. X squared plus 6x, leaving a spot, plus y squared plus 2y, leaving a spot, equals, when I move this to the other side, it's going to become -1. Now what I'm going to do is complete the square on my x's and my y's so that I can factor it into a perfect square. To complete the square, I take half the middle coefficient and square it. So half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. I'm going to add 9 here, which means I also have to add 9 on the other side of my equation. Doing it with my y's, half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So I'm going to add 1 here. I'm going to add 1 here. What happens when I factor this is I'd have x and x plus and plus. Factors of 9 that add up to 6 is that 3 and that 3. That was half of my middle term. So I get x plus 3 squared. Same thing here. If I factored this, I get y and y, a plus and a plus. Factors of 1 that add up to 2, 1 and 1. Again, that's that half that middle term. So y plus 1 squared. Over here doing my adding and subtracting, well, the -1 and the +1 will cancel out, so I'm just going to get the 9. 9 we can rewrite as 3 squared, right? So the center of this circle, since I have a minus h and a minus k, actually end up being the opposites. It'd be like if I took x plus 3 equals 0, I get -3. So the x value of my center is at -3. The y value of my center is at -1. My radius is 3, square root of 9, or 3 squared if I have it in standard form. And so now I can plot this. There is a circle tool. You're going to click on the center, move over 3 spaces in any direction. It's going to draw the circle around the center. So first I'm going to go to -3, -1, click. It's going to mark the center. Then I'm going to move over 1, 2, 3 places, click again, and the circle's actually going to open up 3 places in every direction. I'm going to sketch them in there so my circle looks a little more like a circle, and so my graph is going to look something sort of like that. But click on the center, move 3 places over, the whole circle will expand, click again, and set your circle. So number 17, if I'm going to do that circle, again I want it in standard form, so x squared minus 8x plus y squared plus 4y equals, that's going to move to the other side, so -11. I'm then going to complete my square. Half of -8 is -4. A -4 squared is a positive 16. When I square something, it's always going to end up being a positive, so I'm always going to add something. On my y's, half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So when I factor this one, half of negative 8 was negative 4. It's going to factor into x minus 4 times x minus 4 if you need to do it the long way, but x minus 4 squared. Here, half of 4 was 2. That's going to factor into y plus 2 times y plus 2. 20 minus 11 would give us 9, or the 3 squared again. So this time my center is going to be at positive 4, negative 2. My radius is 3. So 4, negative 2 is my center. 1, 2, 3 places over. Opens my circle in 3 places in all directions. And my circle looks something sort of like that. Number 18 then, same kind of thing. I have x squared minus 6x plus y squared minus 2y, and they've already moved the negative 1 to the other side. So I'm now going to do my completing the square. Half of negative 6 would be negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. Half of negative 2 is negative 1, and negative 1 squared is 1. So I'm going to have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals, and we must have liked to get 9 today. So again, this is half of my middle term, or factor it out the long way. My center in this case is going to be at positive 3 and positive 1. My radius again happens to be 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3 for my radius. And my circle would look something sort of like that. 19, 20, 21, now we're doing a circle. We need to put it back in standard form again. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And so again, we're going to go ahead and group the x's together, the y's together, any numbers on the other side. So I'm going to have 4x squared minus 24x plus 4y squared. I don't have any plain y's. And that 13 is going to move over to the other side, so it's going to be a positive 13. Now notice this one has coefficients in front of the x squared and the y squared. And in standard form, we don't have any numbers in front. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by that 4 right away. So everything's going to get divided by 4. So x squared minus 6x plus y squared is going to equal 13 fourths, which doesn't come out nice, so I'm just going to use that fraction. So completing my square, half of negative 6 would be negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. I'm going to add 9 here, which means I have to add 9 here. This one doesn't have any. It's a 0, right? I don't really need to put it there, but I'm going to put it there for fun. So this would be x minus 3 squared. This would be y minus 0 squared. Equals, and then I got to do my adding and subtracting over here. So if I do this, 9 times 4 is 36 fourths. 36 would give me 13 plus 36 would give me 49 fourths, or 49 fourths, I wrote the 7 down. 49 fourths, or 7 over 2 squared, right? 7 squared is 49, 2 squared is 4. So my center is going to be at positive 3, 0. My radius is 7 over 2, or 3.5, right? So my center is at 3, 0. My radius is 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. And if I could draw, my circle would look something sort of like that. Number 20, same kind of thing. I've got my equation in standard form, or in general form. I want it in standard form, so 2x squared plus 6x plus 2y squared plus 8y equals my 11/2. Now in this case, my coefficient of my x squared and my y squared is 2, so I'm going to divide everything by 2. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. Over here, when you take 11/2 divided by 2, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. So it's 11/2 times 1/2. I'm going to get 11/4 over there. So I'm going to have x squared plus 3x plus y squared plus 4y equals my 11/4. Now, when I complete the square, half of 3 would be 3 over 2. I then have to square my 3 over 2, so I'm going to add 9/4 over here. On my other ones, half of 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4, so I'm going to add 4, which would be 16/4 if I write it as a fraction. So this is going to be x plus 3/2 squared. Remember, that's half of this, that 3/2 that we squared, plus y plus 2 squared equals, and I got to figure out there what my radius or squared is going to be. 11/4 plus 9/4 plus 16/4. Would have been faster just to do it myself. I get 9. (36/4) is 9. So 9 would be 3 squared. My center then is at -3/2 and -2. My radius is 3. So -3/2 is -1.5. So -1.5, -2 would be right there. And then my radius is 3. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to be halfway between the 1 and the 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And again, you only have to go 3 places in one direction and the circle will open up where it should be. It's going to look something sort of like that. Number 21 must be the last one here. 4x squared plus 32x plus 4y squared plus 20y equals -53. So on this one, the coefficient of my x squared and my y squared is 4. So I'm going to divide by 4. So x squared plus 8x plus y squared plus 5y equals my -53/4. Completing my square. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. Half of 5 is 5 over 2. 5 over 2 squared would be 25 over 4. So I'm going to have x plus 4 squared plus y plus 5 over 2 squared equals, and I'm just going to use my calculator here, so negative 53 fourths plus 16 plus 25 fourths is 9. Just like 9, I guess. 9 or 3 squared. So my center is at negative 4, negative 5 halves. My radius, again, happens to be 3. So negative 4 and negative 5 halves, that would be negative 2 and a half. Negative 2 and a half. My radius is 3. 1, 2, 3. And so my circle looks something sort of like that.